This entitled aunt and her child are about to ruin this 10-year-old's special birthday. What crazy reason could they possibly have to justify such wicked behavior? Happy birthday, today's your birthday, and on with the revamped show. My aunt, Dad's sister, has always been the textbook entitled B. When I was a kid, she never missed an opportunity to make me feel like garbage. From thinly veiled insults to outright verbal and emotional, she threw what she could at me in an attempt to break me. Of course, the disgust she felt for me and the faults she found in my dad's parenting never stopped her from mooching stuff off him or asking him for favors without ever giving anything in return. She and her husband considered their son to be a gift from the heavens, and he too grew up to be a narcissistic bully who loved to torment me, even though I was 7 years younger than him. My mum passed away when I was 1 year old, and both my aunt and grandmother had treated her the same as well. But that's another tale for another time. This is about the time that she, along with her son, ruined my 10th birthday. This incident resulted in me being put off birthdays and declining to never celebrate them again. I just couldn't see them as a cause for celebration. My entire extended family, which included the said aunt, uncle, and cousin, along with some relatives, were at our home, and my dad and stepmom had gone out to run some errands. My cousin had invited some of his friends over, even though my dad and stepmom didn't know them. My dad allowed them to come after my aunt whined incessantly about how her son would be bored if his friends were not there. I remember sitting in my room and playing with my dog. I knew my cousin would be down there, and I usually did what I could to avoid him. At that time, I suffered from a pretty bad stutter, and when I was upset or angry, it only got worse. This is something my cousin loved to make fun of. And of course, my birthday would be no different. He demanded that I come downstairs to talk to his friends. When I refused, his mother told me to stop being rude and do what I was told. I was a powerless kid, so I really had no other choice. I went down to the living room and my cousin introduced me to his buddies, in his usual condescending way, as the birthday girl. He handed me a novel and told me to read it out loud. I tried to read properly, but failed. I was surrounded with judgmental stares and it made me nervous. I stuttered, which is exactly what my cousin was hoping for. He and his friends began to snicker. I got angry and stopped reading. My cousin called me a freak. His friends looked at me as though I was on display at a zoo exhibit. I wanted to prove them wrong, that I wasn't a freak, that I could read. I tried reading again. This time, on account of me being angry, the stutter was much worse. My cousin decided to mock my stutter, and all but one of his friends roared with laughter. The one that didn't actually noticed my tears and told the others to knock it off. He asked if I was okay. My cousin told him not to bother. It's just a joke, and that I was just an oversensitive baby. My rage was boiling over, and I threw the book at my cousin's face and stomped out. My aunt had seen what had happened and decided to pull me by my hair and drag me back to the living room. She told me to apologize to my cousin. I refused. She told me I needed to be taught a lesson for being a brat. I tried to tell her what had happened. She chuckled and said, "So what? He's your cousin and older than you. You need to respect him. Now apologize." I refused again, this time with a, "No, I hate you, I hate all of you," all the while crying and shaking with anger. This didn't sit well with Aunt, and she slapped me before asking me why I didn't just die in the womb. She told me I was a troublemaker just like my mother had been, that she knew the day I was born that there was something wrong with me, that an evil bee like my mother couldn't possibly produce a normal child. That was it. I balled up my fist and connected it to my aunt's face. I punched her so hard I busted her lip. By now, all the other relatives had heard the commotion and had gathered in the living room. The moment my fist connected with my aunt is when my dad and stepmom walked in through the front door. The aunt started fake crying. She berated my father for not raising me right and went on and on about how I was a violent, ill-mannered brat, etc. The other relatives too expressed their disappointment in me. My dad asked me what the heck I thought I was doing. I tried to tell him what my cousin had done and what my aunt had said about my mother. Unfortunately, my stuttering reared its ugly head again, and all that came out of my mouth was gibberish. My tears were flowing again. In the meantime, my cousin had decided to take all his friends and bail. I was punished for my beastly conduct. My birthday celebration was cancelled. My dad called my friends and asked them not to come over. I didn't cut any cake. The presents I was to receive from my parents were stocked away. I was banished to my room and stayed there for the rest of the day. I ate lunch and dinner alone. The next morning, no one spoke to me. I was given my breakfast platter, which I ate in my room. That afternoon, my cousin's friend, the one who had told him to stop bullying me, came over. He told my dad what my cousin had done and what my aunt had said. My dad sat me down and apologized to me, but added that it was still wrong of me to punch my aunt. I just sat there silently. I was emotionally numb. My dad kept telling me that he loved me and that he was sorry. I just coldly stared at him. My stepmom suggested a belated birthday celebration. I refused. I told them I didn't want a birthday party and that I wouldn't celebrate my birthday ever again. I kept my word. Every year since that day, my parents would ask me what I wanted for my birthday, and I always replied, nothing at all. I would ask them not to get any cakes, not to invite any guests. The day I was born now meant nothing to me. Even now, after all these years, I don't celebrate my birthday. Instead, I celebrate the day I landed the job that enabled me to move away from my family and start a new life. I consider it the day of my rebirth. It was the day I was able to leave all the pain and anger behind and could plan for a life that I would live on my own terms. There's something really wonderful about being able to start again, to start a new life. I think sometimes in life we all wish we had that chance. Everything feels really stale and it's not going anywhere. We've got people in our lives that we don't really want around us, and we wish we could just start again. I want to say at first that I'm on hiatus for commissions and do not make models for just anyone online anymore. And I make 3D models for 3D printers, and rarely send them out. Depending on what it is a customer wants me to make, it can cost anywhere from $5 to $45. But I prefer to keep it cheap, as these things cost nothing but time to create. I enjoy doing it, and I've been in the same chair with having financial issues. But why would someone with financial issues have a 3D printer in operational condition? So I mostly keep the $45 price for if they want multiple things. Have me print them, difficult things to make, and shipping. I mostly just do commissions from people who I work with for things like their little sibling's birthday present, or a model for a project. But I used to advertise this weird commission thing openly. I had a small website that I made with my friend, who I will call Anthony. Anthony helped keep everything under control, and filter through which commissions I can and can't do, queue them, etc. So I could get the ones I was working on done quicker. There is a kid who is also in my workplace, and in a couple of my classes, who is an absolute jerk, who I'll call Kyle, because that's really just what he is. I was finishing up a PowerPoint in my biology class with Anthony, and Kyle walks up to me and starts asking about commissions. Hey, if I draw a picture of, insert anime character here, can you make a 3D model for free since you know me? I was a bit confused since I had stated on my site, and almost everywhere, that I had to go on hiatus due to the laptop I used for this task being broken. I beg your pardon? I replied. Can you make me an anime model? Anthony already looked a little irritated and decided to respond for me. No, he can't right now. He typically doesn't do humans anyways. Carl was already ticked. Well, why not? You know me, and I refuse to pay for something that takes, what, 5 minutes to create? I was dumbfounded by the idea that he thought it'd take 5 minutes to make an anime model from scratch. I don't know you well. We are acquainted, but even that, just barely. If you want a name tag, I can write you down, as those typically take seconds to make, and only take 20 minutes at the most, but only if you want a lot of detail. That's the only thing I'll do for free, sorry. I replied, trying to get back to finishing the PowerPoint. What's so exciting about a name tag? These darn models don't take much effort. Why can't you make me one? Carl's voice was doing that stupid shaky thing where it is whispering but yelling, like a lot of Karens and Kyles do. Anthony decided to respond again. This time, these models can take upwards of 10 hours to create at times. Now can you do both me and Ardius a favor and get lost? Not until you can tell me why you can't make a cheap model, Kyle snapped. Look, Kyle, it's rare for me to even make my closest friends' models for free. I mostly just discount it. Plus, my home laptop broke yesterday. That is the one I make commissions on. I've posted it everywhere that the commissions are closed for a while. I also explicitly stated on every piece of media I'm on that I do not do humans. And like stated, I barely know you. Kyle stormed off, and both me and Anthony thought that would be the end of it. Big surprise, it wasn't. On my website I posted an alt phone number, and I forgot to take it down when I went on hiatus. I was at my job at Taco Bell, I'm a cashier, and when I go on break, I check my phone, and it had 94 missed calls. 94! And whoever the heck it was still trying to contact me. So I head outside and text that person. Hey, who is this, and why did you call me 94 times in a 3-hour period? I texted. A minute or so later, my phone buzzed. Call, can't text well. So in a second of sheer stupidity, I answered their next call.
Hi, is this Iridius or Anthony from the 3D modeling commissions?
A voice that screamed Karen went on. Yes, this is Iridius. Ma'am, I'm on hiatus, so I won't be done with it for quite a while, whatever it is you are commissioning. But I can put you in the queue. I was cut off.
Did you tell Kyle you won't accept his money simply for asking for a model? He came home upset and he told me that you said that.
Ma'am, he tried to get me to do a commission for free of something I explicitly stated I will not do while I'm on hiatus. If he really wants that model, he's going to have to find another way to do so. I sighed.
Well, he said you denied him service, which you have no right to do.
Karen's whiny voice was practically stabbing my eardrums by now. It's mine and Anthony's business. If we want to refuse service, let alone do something we said we won't do for free, with no way to do so, we can. And quite frankly, with the display you're putting on right now, I will do just that.
You stole my son's money, I will report you!
Karen snapped. Oh my goodness, woman. I am not doing commission for anyone. I did not take any money. He tried to get something that I can't do from me for free. I can't do commissions until my laptop is repaired anyways. I'd had enough of this bullcrap.
Well, he wants that model, that's what he paid for, so make him one now. It's not like they take long, he said they take 5 minutes at most. They aren't that hard, just suck it up and spend 5 minutes. He more than deserves that from you, who he says bullied him. I dropped my hat on the ground after deciding that I probably wouldn't give up without a fight, as I'm not really good at walking away from conflict. I did not bully him. Models take hours. Well, he said he can make one in 5 minutes.
Then tell him to do it, I snapped back, now attracting attention from the people in the fast food line. So I decided to start walking down the stores behind the shop.
He can't make humans,
she said back. Neither can I. I'm pretty sure she heard the cars that were passing by and exploded.
I hope you're hit by a car. Now make my son's model before I do it myself.
I gasped and looked out at the passing traffic, then at my phone. It was a $15 flip phone that I bought specifically for my business. It wouldn't cost much and it would be funny. I threw the phone into the traffic where it got crushed. I continued to my house. The next day at school, I explained to Anthony what happened and why the business phone needed to be removed, and why it will be changed, and why I needed a new business phone. Kyle walked into the class and looks throughout and is infuriated when he sees me, as in temper tantrum breaking stuff infuriated. He starts throwing crap at me and yells, "You're supposed to be dead!" Thankfully, a teacher overheard the commotion and escorted him to the office. I never heard from him or his mum again. What's so crazy about this is that he actually did offer something for free. If he wanted a name tag done, he was willing to do it for him at no cost. But no, that wasn't good enough, he needed his anime model. Well, sorry Kyle, but other people are not your slaves. And if you want something, you're going to have to pay for it, which means you have to serve others first. And really, that's the best thing about a free market. It forces people like Kyle to have to serve other people before he gets the stuff that he wants. So for the past 2 years, I've worked as one of Santa's elves and took photos for families with Santa. Now, yes, I've enjoyed the job, but there are always those parents in particular who make my job unbearable. Me and my coworkers had 3-hour shifts, one from 1 PM to 3 PM, and the second from 4 PM to 7 PM. I, being a veteran since I had worked the previous year, was given multiple shifts. So basically, each day I got there at 12:45 and left maybe around 7:15 p.m, depending on how busy the day was. There were 3 jobs that would be assigned to each day: cashier, photographer, and photo printer. I hated being the photographer because I could never get kids to pay attention. We had toys with bells we would ring to attempt to get the kids' attention, while the EPs just stood by on their phones, not helping whatsoever. Those EPs were the ones who would complain that their kid was crying in the photo or not smiling. Some EPs would just ask us to retake photos even though the lineup was long, and we didn't have the time to retake. But unfortunately, we would sometimes have to retake because they just wouldn't leave the photo printer alone. We would retake the photos and would again get the same result of kids crying or not smiling, even though we asked the parents to help get the kids' attention. The worst shifts I've worked were the evening shifts that felt like they lasted an eternity. The lines were ridiculously long, basically out the door. Many smart parents would show up early and wait in line before we opened, so they could get their pictures taken and printed quickly. However, then there were those EPs who decided to show up after we'd already closed off the line. Since we close up at 7, we would estimate how long each family that was left in line would take, and then close off the line if there were at least 6 or 7 families waiting in a line about 6:50 p.m. I was usually the one to close off the line, tell the last family in line that they were the last ones, and would tell the security guard to not let any more families in. But of course, they would let people in, which ticked me and my co-workers off. Sometimes it would be about 6:50 p.m. with only 4 or 5 families in line, so we could keep the line open until 6:55 p.m, then close it off. Most families are fine with coming back the next day, or later on if we're closing up from the 1 to 3 p.m. shift. Now here's where the fun comes in. It was Christmas Eve, and it was the busiest I've ever seen the line, literally out the door and down the sidewalk. Family after family came through, and we tried to print off their pictures as quickly as we could, but we had to print off other orders first. We told families the photos would be done in maybe 15 minutes, but sometimes it became an hour depending on how many orders we had and if parents were complaining. As 7 p.m. came close, we decided to keep the line open as long as possible, all the way up to 6:59 p.m. We thought we were being very generous for keeping the line open for as long as we did, and many families showed up just before we closed, which was fine. But then came 2 entitled parents and their entitled kids. It was past 7 p.m. We had already closed off the line and had no more customers for the night. Entitled parents wanted to get photos taken with Santa, but I told them, "We're sorry, but we're closed. We're closed at 7 and it's past 7. We can't take your photos."
"But it's only for a few kids. You can't take their pictures?"
said EP. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but no, we can't take your kids' pictures. Again, we're closed," I said. At this point I was furious and the security guard was doing nothing to help. She just stood there watching this all happen. EP kept telling us to take her kids' pictures because it's Christmas. "Yes it is, but we're closed," I yelled because she kept berating me. It was causing a scene, but I didn't care.
"You're ruining Christmas for my kids! How dare you!"
they said. Did I ruin Christmas? If anything, the parents ruined Christmas because they showed up after we closed. Eventually my boss came out and asked what was going on, which me and my co-workers explained. My boss told the lady exactly what I told her, and finally the security guard escorted them away. The kids were crying and the parents just glared at me. Not the best experience, but I couldn't believe how inconsiderate people could be, expecting us to take their kid's photo after Santa had already left. If this was supposed to be your Christmas photos, you're doing it not just last minute, you're doing it after last minute. You're late. It's already closed, it's done. So if anyone's ruined Christmas, it's your punctuality. If it's really important to you, then you'll do it beforehand. It's not like they just run it the day before Christmas, it's usually over a month before Christmas. I guess they just want to blame other people for their bad parenting. Submit your story to be read on the channel at VoiceyHereStories@gmail.com and join our Voicey veteran community at r/VoiceyHere. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode. Alright Voicey veterans, I'll see you in the next one.